You want to start with something, or you want to go ahead and jump into questions?
Yeah, no, I appreciate everybody taking some time out on a Sunday afternoon. I just felt like we should kind of get on here and talk through the move we made this morning. Excited to add Julio to the football team. He's excited to be a part of what we got going on here in Nashville, and it's a big day for our team. There's still some things that we've got to work through. We've agreed to the terms on the trade. There's obviously the physical component that has to be passed, as it is with every trade. And then there's some things that we've still got to work through as an organization with the salary cap, and working things to fit into the parameters that the league has set forth with all 32 teams. So still working through that, having internal discussions about that. But excited to add Julio and see what he can do for our team.
Jim White.
And John, was this a situation where maybe you had an offer on the table and things just kind of came together this morning, and maybe where were you when you're back and kind of closed the deal?
Yeah, so we've been talking, Jim, for probably 2 or 3 weeks here, back and forth with Atlanta and Terry Fontenot down there, and my hat's off to him. This is his first big trade. He was great to work with, but he's got a great career ahead of him. So I appreciate working with him and dealing with him. But we had discussions, really, kind of back and forth for the last couple weeks. Kind of picked up in intensity a little bit yesterday, and then finally found some closure this morning on it, and able to agree to the terms on it.
Teron.
Yeah, at what point did this first become an idea that is something that you guys will be able to do? And what is it about Julio Jones that will give you guys that offensive firepower to compete with the top offensive teams?
I start, when word got out that he might be available, I started looking at it. We looked at him, coaches looked at him, how he might fit in offensively. I mean, he's big, he's fast, he's tough, great with the ball in his hands, willing blocker. I think a lot of the things that we ask of our receivers, which, all the locals know, it's get open, catch, and block. He certainly checks those boxes and has done it at a high level for a lot of years in the National Football League. And, did our due diligence just with the film work and the evaluation piece about what he might add to the team. And again, excited that we were able to kind of get some closure to it today.
Teresa.
John, on part of the things that have to be checked, is there any talks of maybe an extension or reworking a new deal for Julio, or is it just making sure you clear up the salary cap space to fit him in?
Yeah, we're working through that. I'll keep that private, Teresa, internally about the discussions that we're having to fit within the parameters of the cap that the league has set. And those discussions are going on internally. They started yesterday and they're working on today now.
David Leclerc.
John, just talk about the skill position players when you're thinking about Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, all sort of bigger than the average bear at their positions and what they can do kind of as a group.
Yeah, I think that, the bigger and the faster and the stronger that any player can be at their respective positions, the advantage, goes to usually the bigger, faster and skilled players. Certainly all three of those guys have proven that they can be successful at their respective positions with their height and their weight and their speed. But excited to get Julio in here, and I know he's excited to get to know his teammates, to get the timing down and get ready to work.
Kayla.
Yeah, John, and along the lines of that, clearly his teammates, his new teammates, were going all out, trying to get him here. I know AJ has been very vocal on social media as well. But how does that feel, just to know the team's all in and getting a guy like this? Who wouldn't be? But it just seems like it was such a good fit.
I think that Julio's a highly respected player in the league. I mean, there's guys on our football team that have relationships with him and know him personally, and know, how important team is to him and his teammates and how he prepares. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that those guys are fired up to add a player that can, hopefully help the offense and ultimately help the team win football games.
Joe Rexrod.
John, I know you said you guys are talking internally on how to make this work, but just in general terms, can you make this work with restructuring of contracts, or is it possible that you'll have to cut someone?
No, I think it's more just kind of restructuring and moving pieces around, Joe. Like I said, those discussions are internal, and we're working through those. But I feel like we had a good football team, coming into today and yesterday. I'm happy with the progress that's being made in the OTA sessions, those voluntary sessions. And then, hopefully we've bolstered it today by adding Julio.
John Glennon.
Hey, John, wondering if you can elaborate just a little bit on, the skills and strengths that he brings to the table, and sort of the difficulty defenses may face and sort of picking a poison, with Derrick in the backfield and now Julio and AJ at wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he can run the full route tree. He's got really good size. He's got a long catch radius, good catching skills. He's strong with the ball in his hands. Still think he can push the field down vertically. He's willing to go in there and dig out a linebacker or a safety. That the Seahawk game was a fun game to watch last year with him and Jamal Adams, who's an outstanding player as well. They were going at it. You could see the competitive, fire and spirit out of both of those players who are at the top of their game, and we'll see kind of where he fits in, with what exact position. I think that's to be determined. We've got to get him here and get to know him. He's an extremely smart player. Coach Saban spoke really highly of him, and excited to see how he factors in for the offense.
Paul.
John, sticking with your internal conversations, wouldn't the easiest contract perhaps to restructure at the start of this be Julio's contract?
Again, we'll see how those goes. Ben Marino and I are kind of talking through that and working through, those discussions and what's best for the team.
Slot possibility here would seem that AJ Reynolds.
Two questions, Robbie.
And Julio. A lot of people have been asking two questions, John, and I've been very disciplined. Seems like all three of your top three could play in the slot now, and you probably wouldn't have a dedicated guy, but a rotation.
Yeah, I think, that's the one thing that, we like and put a premium on in players, Paul, is position versatility and guys to play a couple different spots. And, it kind of adds to the multiplicity of the offense when you can move guys around, put them in different spots to create matchups and get them open. And, I feel good about the group that we got and their ability to move around within the personnel groupings.
Terry.
John, last year, it didn't happen often, but it happened in the playoff game against the Ravens. They sold out to try and stop Derrick. How much does the acquisition of Julio maybe make teams think twice about trying to do that, knowing that Julio's the type of guy who can burn them for that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we try to do our best to put all of our the playmakers in position to make plays, and Derrick's been a big part of our offense, and that's not going to change. And the more pieces that we can add around to try to make defensive coordinators' jobs harder, I think that's part of our charge as a personnel staff, is to try to have players that put stress on defense, and the same thing on the other side of the ball. You try to add guys on the defensive side of the ball that offensive coordinators are trying to either scheme away from or know that they're going to have to take care of.
Jared Stillman.
Yeah, John, is it fair for fans to believe with this move and the future considerations, both in the draft and the ones in the cap that you'll have to make, that you personally believe that this 2021 Titans roster can reasonably contend for the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, we don't set expectations, Jared. I think my charge is to try to get as many good football players on the team as possible and let them go out there and do their jobs and play the style of football that we want to play and let the chips fall where they may. I think that's 31 other GMs are everybody's undefeated right now. It's a new season. Everybody has a chance to go the distance and win the thing. So ultimately, it's our job to try to put a team out there that's going to be competitive, that's going to play stylistically the way that we want to play. And I'm excited about this team.
Steve Lyman.
Jon, the idea that you got maybe the most productive wide receiver of a generation for, in essence, a second-round pick, how good do you feel about that price for him? And to go along with that, you've made some pretty nice trades for guys who are in their career to bring them in that have all made an impact. How much do you feel that's part of your charge beyond the draft and things like that to get a guy like Tannehill or get a guy like Julio Jones to put your team over the top?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first part of your question, whatever the value is the value. I mean, we felt like it was good value for us, and Atlanta felt like it was good value for them, obviously, or they wouldn't have done the trade. They're excited and we're excited. And, I think that's part of my responsibility is to monitor and see players that may or may not be available. Sometimes it works out in a trade. And sometimes it doesn't. You can't get every single player every single time. But I felt like since I've been here, we've tried to explore the possibilities. And then when we felt the need to be aggressive, we were, and other times we didn't really feel like that was the best thing for our football team.
Buck.
Jon, when last time we talked to you, you said you had been having conversations, or other teams had reached out to you about the tight end position, not to move completely away from the Julio thing, but how much does adding him kind of change those conversations that you've had? And has there been any development on potentially adding a player at that position?
We continue to look at every position, Buck, and we're monitoring. There's some guys that are out there, and there's some some guys here on our football team that are growing and they're getting better every single day. And I'm excited about, the guys that we have, at that position currently. And, I think that's a pretty good position group for us. And, those guys got to keep working and keep improving. But, just like with any position group, we're always monitoring the availability of players that are out there that, may not have a job or that may be on another team that may come available.
A handful of follow-ups. Jon Glennon.
Yeah, Jon, talking about all the moves that you've made over the years, last year, some moves that you made didn't necessarily work out. I wonder, is there ever a hesitancy after some moves that don't work out to make another big move like this and jump right back into things? Or do you feel like, okay, I got to get my cuts in. We're going to dive right back into making some big moves.
Yeah, it's Jon. We take stock of the ones that certainly don't work out and try to learn from those mistakes. But I don't think we try to be too frivolous with what we do. But we got a chance to shoot, we shoot, and we felt like this was a move where we needed to pull the trigger, and glad that we did.
Chris Harris.
Hey, Jon, kind of along those lines of knowing when to shoot, with your job and your position as you've evolved as a GM over the years, can you speak to just kind of the patience and knowing the exact time when to strike? Like, you've got your eye on something and it's going to take a little time, and how you can't overplay, or I guess the need to not overplay your hand from the beginning and making sure you get exactly what you want or can do in the end.
Yeah, that's, we try to do as much due diligence, Chris, as we can. I've said it, I felt like a million times, you're never going to be 100% right in this job. No GM is. in any sport. Like, you're going to miss sometimes. But, you continue to, like I said earlier, try to learn from those where you missed. But you never put the gun away. You keep firing at it, you keep taking shots, like all these basketball players do. They don't quit shooting 3-pointers. If they miss one, they keep shooting. And you don't want to be callous with it. You don't want to be frivolous with it, but you still got to maintain an aggressive mindset, yet patient and a diligent mindset to work through everything and try to get as many answers to the questions that you have, about acquiring a player, and then fire away. And if it works, you're lauded. If you're not, they're ready to run you out of town. That's what we signed up for. But we're going to always keep that mindset of being diligent with our approach and aggressive when we feel like we need to be aggressive.
Corey?
Hey, Jon, just a question about Julio. I believe he's got 3 years left on his deal. Have there been discussions about his desire to play to the end of that deal or possibly beyond that deal at 32 years old? What are his career goals at this point?
Yeah, right. I mean, right now he's excited to get in here and meet his new teammates, to get cranking with Ryan and the rest of the receivers. He's a pro, and our job is to try to get him in here and make sure the physical checks out and get him acclimated to how we do things here and learn the offense. And that's what we're working on now.
Jared?
Yeah, Jon, what with the loss of Corey, how important is Julio, or how good is Julio on the downfield blocking that we saw last year on the big Derrick Henry runs and the big A.J. Brown yards after the catches? How good is Julio, Josh Reynolds in replacing that downfield blocking?
I think that we see evidence on film when we evaluate those guys. There's certainly a willingness to block, and they show the technique that we coach. And you got to be mindful on some of those downfield blocks, Jared, not to get your hands too far out, not to get into a coach speak session here, but you don't want to get a holding call and negate a run. So we try to screen some of those guys, and if you can just kind of impede them from tripping up the runner, so that they can keep running. That's the main thing. Is they're not looking necessarily for pancake blocks, 30 yards down the field, but just finding a way to get on a guy, which we saw that when we evaluated those guys, their ability to get on a guy and impede them from the runner's path, that we think will translate well to our offense.
Teron?
Yeah, J-Rod, with Julio having averaged, around 9 targets per game throughout his career, is that a conversation that you had with Todd Downing and Rob Moore, just as far as how to bring him in and there may not be opportunities where he gets those 9 receptions or nine targets?
I think in my discussion with Julio, what's his number one goal? It wasn't about targets, wasn't about that. His goal is to win. And that's the mindset we're looking for, whether that's 9 targets, whether that's 2 targets or no targets, contribute to winning the football game. I think that's the mindset that he has, and that's the mindset we have as a football team.
Last two, Paul.
Jon, picking up on the earlier question about tight ends, would it be difficult at this stage to give up a pick or picks in a deal for a tight end, or to take on a veteran contract, given that you just did both?
Yeah, that's a good question, Paul. It's probably that would probably be tough. It'd have to be some type of some type of pick flop or situation. Probably pretty low cost. And then from a salary component, that may be a tough pill to swallow as well. Not saying that it can't happen. You never rule anything out, but that may be a tougher hurdle. Both of those things may be tougher hurdles to get over for us.
Last one, Jim.
And Jon, you mentioned Coach Saban had some good things to say about him. Did you talk to Derrick? Did you talk to any other guys on the team that may know him, and how much does his body of work, just how he's carried himself in the NFL, kind of speak for him in making a move like that?
Yeah, I asked AJ who did that tape job on that jersey he made up. I'm joking. No, I mean, those guys, again, I think that his we talked to the players on the team that, those guys, talked about his work ethic and his desire to win. And, I think he's about what we're about, and we'll fit in well, and excited to get him in here and get it rolling.
And did you get a kick out of AJ's campaigning for him, or did you ever say anything to him about it? Does that help? Does that hurt, or what was your take as that was kind of going on?
No, it was I chalked it up to harmless fun, Jim. Like AJ's passionate about football. He, like me, wants as many good football players on the team as possible, because he knows that that's going to give us a chance to win. He's a competitive guy. He's always looked up to Julio, and I got a nice little chuckle out of it, and I thought it was good. But the tape job was pretty impressive by him. I think the football thing's probably going to work out for AJ, but if not, he might could moonlight as an art teacher or something, or arts and craft.
Thanks, John. I appreciate your time on Sunday.
Hey guys, appreciate you guys. I wanted to jump on here because I knew that we weren't going to be able to talk, and you guys weren't going to be able to do your jobs until we were available back on Thursday. So I know that you guys have responsibilities as well in your respective jobs, and I felt like that deserved me taking some time out today to talk to you guys. Appreciate the way you guys covered the team. Best of luck and tighten up.
Thank you,
John. We appreciate it.
Appreciate the time.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.